Hello students, hope you are doing good over there. So in previous video we have learned some of the introduction to database. So what is a database? Before that we learned what is data, how a database is being situated, and what do you mean by database management system? We all know what is a database management system. It is a general purpose software for defining and constructing, manipulating and sharing the data. So anything we need to work on a system for a user, he interacts the data. The data are being given birth with the help of database in our software system. So in this video we are going to learn some more things about a database. So let us continue with all the topics. So the first one is how a database system actually looks like. So as you know, a database means what? It is always a collection of the data, right? So here I have said that a database, it's also called as DBMS, database management system. It's a collection of program that enables a user to create and maintain the database. So the left side part, what you're going to see a picture, it is completely how a database system looks like. So the first part is consists of user or a programmer. A user or a programmer, he will be an end user who is going to use that system. Like for example, if you prepare a dish, the end users will be the person who you are going to serve, right? The served person becomes an end user over there. The same way, the user or a programmer are the person who access this database. But how a database system actually looks like? So database system consists of application programmer or a queries. The system, inside the system we have application programmer or a queries, means what? Who provides access to the database, like by telling a language, like I need to speak with you, means I need to speak with you means, yeah, I need to know your language. So with the help of a language I'm going to communicate with you. The same way this application program or query works. Clear, understood? So what does this application and programmer do? It provides access to the inner database, saying that boss, he requires this information, please do give him, like that. The things goes on like that. Inside the system, it has a software acts as an interface between a hardware and a user, or a storage and a user. So a database software, it consists of the application programs which is written in a host languages like Java, it may be, or C programming, C++, or any kinds of language you require to work on a system. So that is written with the inside with the help of a application program. Now coming to a database software, it consists of a software processor or query programmer. What does it do? It works it query programmer compiler works as an internal form where it makes the high level language and converts it, and tells the software that, or tells the storage that what it requires and what you need to give to him. So here the storage, the data stored data manager module controls the access to a database of the information that is being stored in a disk. So as I said, inside the software, a software acts as an interface. As you know, it acts as a interface. So the work of the software is to access the data given by a take out the data given by a programmer or a user, and search for that, fetch the result and provide you, like request and response kind of thing. So here what happens here is, so the software to process the query or programmer. So what does it do? As I said, the application programmer has been written in a host languages. In that, what query has been written, it has been taken out and checked for that query and takes the results out with the help of storage data medium, and then it provides back the response over there. The next is here, the data can be easily accessed, managed, modified, updated, and organized with the help of this database software. So with the help of this database software, we can easily maintain our data in a proper mechanism and a proper stamina or standards. So next, a stored database consists of set of described the information about to be given. So what does the stored database do here? The stored database here, it describes the data properly without any confusions or without any instances. So what does it do? It provides a proper set of data. This is called as a metadata concept. So metadata means it is a data inside a data, means it purifies the data properly and stores and keeps in a proper fashion. This is about how a database software actually looks like. So it consists of three parts. One is four parts. One is user or programmer. Next, database system, software and storage data, stored database. So these are the four main parts of your database. What you are going to see. Next, characteristics of a database approach. So each and every part of our database, what we are going to learn and why we need to learn is been categorized, or it has been known in this part. So the first one is self-describing nature of a database. So as we know about traditional database, so traditional file system, what happens here is we can't keep multiple copies, or once if we do something it should be in the same mannerism, and for accessing a data also we use the same thing, so it is very difficult to do. So this database does that, means it removes this traditional method of accessing the database. So here what the way we are going to do here is, here this does not contain only a database, like only a file, like only a data inside stores inside the packet. It contains all the activities, all the measured quantities of that, like now if you take a empty packet, or it is if we take up a loose item from a store, what happens, they will not mention whatever contents they have utilized and what is that, how it is been made of. But when you take a packed one from a company, it comes, it has a description, or there it returns what things are there in a on that packet and whatever utility you do, the same way this database does. So here the it has a description and complete definition of a database structure and its constraint. The rules and regulations are also there in that. Complete description of why a database you have designed, it is also there, and what are the things you have utilized in that things also will be there in your database. The next, to the definition to store a database is used as a catalog. So everywhere it has a things, whatever things, what is a catalog we'll see in our next coming classes. So definition things are also there in this catalog, which contains a structure of each file type and storage format of each data. Okay, so this contains each and everything in our system. Next, this information has been used by the database software and database users. Who is going to use this? The the end user are going to use that with the help of some query made or some questioning made, and software to retrieve things for the different things. So by this reason, it is been it is this has a separate entity of data and separate entity of information. For this is totally different from your traditional file storage. So as I explained with an example, what is a traditional file with simple a simple goods item, also the same things it comes under this is what a self-describing nature of your database. So for everything it has a its own specific names, or its own specific path of your system. The next is intuition about a program, data and data abstraction, relation or between a program, data and data abstraction. So what is this? This structure of data file is been stored in a database catalog separate from the axis programmer. So for this it is known as program data independence. So never here what happens here is each and everything has its own space, has its own part where the data has to be stored, or where a data has to be utilized in a system. For that, these things are being made in a main accurate entity. So here an operation has two main methods. One is interface, second one is implementation. So interface means it's complete picture, what you need to add into the database, how a database must look. Implementation means accepting the interface what you have utilized and putting that into a working mechanism. So here inform interface or a signature of an operation includes the operation name, data type and argument list. So as I said, int a of 5. Int a of 5 means a database of data type as integer. uh, a is a user defined variable and size is 5. So what do we do? You having that, we work on, we take and we access them. Means what I am going to try to say here is, here this includes the operation name. Like if I say student, it is a database as student. In a, when we speak on database student, we have roll number, name, and place. Okay, take that roll number. It is in a number. So what I say, roll number, number, or roll number in text means varchar, and if it has should have a value, s, if I say s, it should have a value. I doesn't say not, if I'll say not null, or else not null, or else null. I can keep any kinds of, means what does it do? It only has the definition. I say it only has a operation name, but not operation, the operation things inside that. Okay. Next, implementation, or a method of operation that specifies separately that can be changed without affecting a interface. So the working fashion is been done with the help of this. So next, it also has a part called as data abstraction, binding or hiding the data. So what does it do? It provides a security to your database. So the characteristic allows the data independence and program operation independence, or is called as data abstraction. It hides the things from the unauthorized sites or unauthorized entities. The next is supporting multiple views of the data. So here typically when we speak on a database, it is not a single person who is going to use this database. This database is been maintained or utilized from different persons. So here the database typically has many users who with whom many things has to be been seen. Means they say here the database typically has many users. Each of them may require the different perspective views of the database. So they are saying that here it is like a database, but each and everything has its own entity or its own different way how you are going to represent, how you are going to work on a situation or a standards. So the view may substitute the database or the contents of a virtual data that is derived from other database, but it is not been stored explicitly. So it we can help the user to check different things, but it is not been stored. So hence the extra storage will be reduced or returned to you. Next, some users may not need to be aware of what way from where our data are being utilized. So it provides a way for a multiple user to work on a system, but it doesn't say each and everyone need to be known with this database properly or not. Next, a multi-user database have a varieties of distinct applications, which provides a facility for defining a multiple views. So the person who is going to be using a multiple user like a Amazon website or a Flipkart website, it is like a multiple users. Each and every user has views that system with their own identity. So this provides the multiple view entities also for your database. The last one is the sharing data and multiple user transaction processing system. So what is this? So this DBMS must include the concurrently current control software to ensure these several users who are trying to update. So what does it do here is when for example in a company and all, we have multiple peoples running a company, right? So what happens there, each and every users must have a notice, or they need to be utilized with the datas. He need to work on that data. Means what happens, there should be a running data properly, right? So what happens there, every person will try to save his data in the database. Okay, so now if a person if that database doesn't check to that and allow all the users to save a process, then what happens, the database may corrupt. Hence they provide the role for the things to save the data, to work on a proper entities. So they check for all the things, hence they have a controlling software for that. Next, the transaction is an executing program or process that includes one or more database accessing, such as reading or updating of a database data record, so on. So this will check for the things whatever it is, it should be done. It keeps tracking which person who is going to store the data in a proper way or proper constraint or not, or different kinds of things. Next is the isolation property ensures that each transaction appears to be executed in isolation form from other transaction, even though 100 transactions are been executing in a thoroughly, as I said. So what does this process say? This process, what I explained you, called as isolation property, which says that he any user who is going to access the database must be isolated, means he should be single. Like if multiple people's also being accessed, there should not be any confusion between the user who is going to access the database. That is called isolation property. Autonomy property ensures that either that database or either all the operations in a data transition is been executed or not. Thus this 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 property, what does it do here is, it will tell you that what type of data operations are been executed, transaction operation has been executed or not. This is about your characteristics of database, that is called as self-describing in nature. It will be very unique for every single kinds of things. Next is uh, insulation between data, program data and data abstraction. Next, support multiple views of our data, sharing of data and multi-user transaction processing system. This is about your characteristics of. So the next is advantages of database approach. So the first part of the advantage database approach is controlling redundancy. So here the redundancy means it is called as duplication. So here what happens here is, in a traditional software, say for the example, a person he need to register for a course in our college. So once a file comes to the college, a person called administrator, he checks for the file, he keeps the file. One more person comes and checks for the same file, he registers himself and he keeps the file back. The one more person comes back, and what it does, again the same person's name will be registered again and again. So what happens there the multiple duplication is been taken part. So here this redundancy of storing the same data multiple times reveals to a system into a problem. Like there may be a chance of getting a larger database, like the space will not be there in a database proper, because the multiple times if the same record is being inserted again and again, what happens that there is a duplication, and when it retrieves you get wrong information also. Hence here this provides a proper control in the redundancy by providing different kinds of features, like providing a unique key and different entities for a system. Here they have said that here when the organization utilizes a database, it leaves one record to for a person, it leaves the one record to be given properly, and it checks for different entities and gives you back. In this database approach, the view of a different user group are integrated during a database design, and ideally the database design are stored in a proper logic, that the same record must not be repeated again and again the until a system gets satisfied. Only then your data are being actually utilized. Okay, this is about your controlling redundancy, means it will remove a duplication. How it is going to remove a duplication? By providing a logical meaning to your file, to your data or to your record, by cross checking the data, or by providing a uniqueness in your data, checking for a uniqueness in your data. By that it reduces the database redundancy. Hence when we speak on a traditional file, it becomes very difficult. So we will not check if there is the lags together records, or if there is close together records in your traditional file system, the person will not be able to what is that, he will be not able to check for our data properly. Hence this is by using this database, we can you can obviously reduce the redundancy or confusion between data. The next is restriction for unauthorized access. So here each and every part or each and every field we have different number of users, so each and every users are being take considered in a different forms also, so that the unauthorized person like a hacker or any person may not be able to use your database whenever he require. So here it provides a proper security for your database, proper security and authorized subsystem for a database. Only then you can utilize the database. And here it gives a privilege, it gives a uh, authentication access for your user like a Facebook. So every person may not be cannot access your Facebook account, right? But only by providing a proper user ID and password, only then he can access a Facebook account, right? This is how a account this things works. The next is providing a persistent storage for a program object. So here the database system must be capable to provide a proper storage for a program object and data structure for everything whatever you are going to store in your database, either with the different stanzas. So the values of a program variables are disclaimed or once a program is been terminated, unless a program explicitly stored in a database. So what does it do here? It will never live simply to store a variable or simply to utilize that variable in your system. Once if you only if it is been stored in an external entity, only then it will be for permanent time. But if you use for simple utilization and all, it will not keep the data in a proper mechanism or different kinds of things. So here the persistent storage program and data structure are more important function in a database for because a traditional database system often suffered from the independence mismatch problems. So what happens here is, so when you have multiple records in a traditional software or a traditional file system, there is a mismatch on a record. But when you use this database approach, you will not find any kind of mismatch problems, and the database were incompatible with the programming language data structure. Once object-oriented database system are typically offered the structure of compatibility with one or more program languages, so there will be no mismatch with your record provided in a proper mechanism or proper standards. This is about your providing a persistent storage for a programming object. It provides a provides a space to store your data in a proper sequence or proper standards. Next is providing a storage structure for efficient query processing. So here we get a proper space to access or to request a database in your system. So here the database is typically stored on disk. The DBMS must provide a specialized data structure to seek the help on a database. So wherever things are there, like for if you have 100 data you are going to fetch for a single thing, then with the help of index numbers or index entity, you can easily fetch up the data in a proper stanzas. So here the things this provides a easy efficiency in your query language optimization also. So query means it is like a request to a program. So the query processing and optimization module of a database are responsible for choosing a efficient query for execution for each query based on an execution storage structure. So the choice of the index are been created and maintained as a part of a physical database design and tuning, etc. So here with the help of this we can easily optimize the query, process the query and turn appropriate result for the things whatever you require. This is about your providing a storage for a efficiency query processing, which means that when you run a process at the time, it will help you to encourage you with the proper entities or proper things to do in your system. That is about a processing, providing a storage structure for efficient query processing. The next is providing a backup and recovery. So when a system is in a damaged condition, or if you lose the database, and or if you are going to take a new system and for there your database, your existing database must go, means this provides you the database. You can easily backup and you can easily recover things properly. So backup and recover subsystem of a database is responsible for recovery, and it is also responsible to make sure the database is restored in a current state itself also. So whenever there is a system crash, or whenever there is a problem in your database, this helps you to recover the things efficiently or easily. The next is providing a multiple user interface. So the providing a multiple user interface, in the sense the n number of persons who is going to work on a system, it provides a platform easily. So n number of persons also can work simultaneously in a system. And here the many types of users are where with the various level of technical knowledge uses the database properly. So for your entities, hence what they do, they provide a proper GUI for a person. So it may be with the help of menu driven or geographical user interface also there is been provided, and they satisfy your user requirement. That is the one more advantage of your database management system. The next one is representing the complex relation among a database with the help of different diagrams. Whichever is been provided by database, we can easily work for a complex situations also. So here, by providing a different entities, like by providing a proper name approach also. So when you give a proper name for a operation, then the complexity may be decreased, hence you will not get any confusions in your programs, and you will easily work on a data. That is one more advantage of your database approach. The next is enforcing the integration constraints. So here the integration constraints means, here they say they must hold on a they provide the capability of defining and enforcing the constraints, means so what type of entities to be done by the database, how it should actually work. Like if the student record is been inserted in your system, then how that student record must actually take place, or how actually work on a system, that is done with the help of enforcing the integration constraints. So here the data item may be entered incorrectly, and still it satisfies the integrity of the things, means they provide a constants or a rules. Based on that, you can show based on the data will be managed easily in a system. The next is permitting the interface and action rules. So here the some database provides a capability for defining the reduction rules of the interface with new information to a thing, that is called as reduction database system. It provides some of the rules to interface and new things, and it uses the some stored procedures, and for stored procedures in executable queries to make a program easy to run in your system, to work on a system easily and efficiently, or encouraging in your system for a different stanzas or different entities for a given things. Okay, here they use some different kinds of triggers in the sense for to run a program, multiple tables, communicate the multiple tables. It provides a way and to make a fast quick access to a table, to access for things, that is done with the help of this interface and action by using some different rules and regulations of things. The next one is potential for enforcing the standards. It has a proper standard whenever you run a database. It is not that without a proper standards by using the by here always remember, whenever we are going to create a database, it is done with proper rules and regulations itself. So hence it provides a proper standard for a programmer who runs this standard easily. So database approach permits the database administrator to define and enforce the standard among the database users for a large organization. So the rules, what the admin frames the rules, in the same way we are going to run the program in a proper standards, or run a database in a proper standards. The standard can be defined by the names or a format or a data elements, or the different kinds of things whatever you are going to use in a system. The next advantage is reduces the application development time. Hence, you find no ambiguity, and it has all the kinds of authorization and different kinds of circumstances. Hence, it is very easy and to reduce means the work standard of a programmers will be easy. It will lift up the time properly. So there um, here the database takes with the help of the things like producing reports, updating the things or different kinds of things, we can easily achieve the development time, or it will achieve the development time properly. Next is flexibility. Wherever you run the proper DBMS, or wherever you run, whichever system you run, it runs properly in a fine time. So it may be necessary to change the structure of a database as per the development changes. Also, whenever it requires, like say for the example, for this now what Flipkart you are going to see, it will be not same in a coming year. So the every standards of that application will change by day. The same way when the changes has been done, the same way the database must also get changed. Hence, you can easily change the database whenever the time requires, or whenever the new group of users come into data. So next is availability of up-to-date information, as it uses the concept of metadata. Hence, metadata is data about a data, so it gives the picturized format of your data in proper meaningful time. So the DBMS makes the database available for all users as soon as possible, and it leaves the quick update for given things. And also it's for this availability of updated information is essential for many transaction processing applications, such as in different systems like reservation, booking systems, and different kinds of part. It provides a clean majority things for information. The last part is economic scale. So it is not so costlier for a person to build a database. It is very cheaper and it is useful for the economic scale also. So DBMS approach permits the consolidation of the data and application. Thus, it reduces the small amount of wasteful overlap between activities of data processing personally, and also with the among the applications also. By this, like by having some proper mannerism and proper mechanism, you can easily run up the system in a proper stanzas with the provided entity. This is your advantages of your database applications. Those are some controlling redundancy, restriction restricting the unauthorized access, providing the persistent storage for a program object, providing the storage structure for efficient programming, processing data, providing the data backup and recovery, providing multiple user interface, representing the complexity relation among a database, enforcing the integrating constraints, permitting the interfaces for or an action using rules, potential for enforcing the standards, reducing the application development time, flexibility, availability of up-to-date information, economy of for scaling are some of the advantages of database approach. So the next is we're going to come up with some of the users of database. The first one is database administrator. He is the main person who acts on a database. He is the admin or administrator or the rule provider for a database. The administrator he may be an individual person or different persons responsible for controlling, maintaining, coordinating, operation of a database management system. He is the main person who is going to utilize the things. Okay, so the roles played by a database administrator are they are configuring a database, means he is the person who is going to fix the database. He provides the database design. Also, he merges the database security, provides security, troubleshoot if there is any problem in a database, provides the backup and data recovery. So this is what a database administrator does. A database administrator becomes a main person or a key person of a database standard. As we speak, as this contents is also related to a job. This database administrator is a person who is a high paid person in this database institution for the providing different stances. We have different kinds of database administrator. One is administrator database who maintains the main server, complete server for the functions. Okay, the next person is the warehouse DBA who checks the proper storage of a database. He has a proper role to be played in a system for the development time. Next is development DBA. They build and develop the queries for store procedure and so on for organization when they are required. And the next person is application DBA who maintains the application from the user end, whatever things he need to be activated or achieve for things. Next is architecture database, means who is going to design the database for a different part of works. The last person is OLAP or OLAP DBA, means object oriented OLAP DBA. He is the person who is going to run the business for the database. So these are some of the persons who works for a database, different types of administrators. So what is the administrator does? The main work of administrator is he keep tracks, or he runs a business for a sake. He runs a business for a sake in the sense, which means that he control, maintain, coordinate. He do different kinds of activities. He do different kind of tasks. The same as a management or a main member, as a president does in the colleges. What he does, he will be responsible for every single upcoming takes for a system. Okay, next there here as I spoke on a different types of database administrator. The administrator DBA, his job is to maintain the server and keep the functional activities properly. Next is here data warehouse, warehouse in the sense where we are going to keep our data, where we are going to store our data. So here he merges the data from different sources and keeps it in a proper stanzas. Next, development. They build and develop queries, stored procedures, so on to meet the organizational need. The next person is application DBA. Here, the application DBA is a person who is going to check all the application components of the database. So where the things goes wrong and how things must be utilized in system, those things are being run or utilized with the help of these persons. Next is architecture. The main person who checks for design schemes like building a tables or meeting the organization, building a table and building a structure which means the organizer standard. This is about a database administrator. Why a database administrator is mainly being used means he is mainly used to manage and control the level of database in your system. The roles he also provides, he decides the database hardware, what hardware he is required to be utilized. Next, manages the data integrity and security. To run a database and to check for security, he is being utilized. For a database design, provide a database design, he is being utilized. He is the main person to check, to implement database, for providing the query and turning the database performance. For tuning the database performance, also a database administrator is being utilized. The next person is database designer. Based on the end user, what he requires, this person is going to design things and provide you. He is the second person under a database administrator itself. He provides a design for a database. He provides the entities for a database, for things, for a utility, or for utilizing the entities of things also he is being utilized. Here they say here the database designer determines what data must be stored. Database designer must determine what data must be stored and how the data element must be interrelated and how to be stored and what things must be there. These things are being understood by a database designer itself. Next, they give a chance for choosing an appropriate structure to represent and store a database properly. Even they give a chance to check what type of database we must be stored and how this database must be actively visible for a system. Next, they are responsible to meet the requirement provided by other users also. Their main advantage, main requirements also being utilized with the help of this person. Each here how a requirement is being met means whatever things is been told by a end user will be implemented and given to him. Each view are then analyzed and integrated with the help of other user groups also. With the help of other user groups also, he is going to work with to provide a consistent design. The next person is end user. What we are going to do, we persons are called as the end users. What we are going to do, we are not going to bother how administrator works or how a design is there. We person use the data, what things requirements what we require, that is been done by this persons and returned to us. So these people who access the database for querying, generating reports and updating things for different kinds of things, for creating a database data field or database for things for updating, inserting a data or generate reports, we are going to do the things. So we have different categories in our users. The first one is casual end users who occasionally comes to the your database and checks whatever requires. Like we go if we doesn't know anything, what we do Google it, and then we understand the concept and then come back again. The same concept applies here in the casual end user also. He occasionally access the database, but they not know but they no need the different information at each time. They are not in a mood to check for different information at the each time also. The next person is native and parametric end user. So native end user in the sense the person who is going to access the database for a frequent time, for entities for every individual time for his accessing for his duty. Here their main job function revolves around the consistency of the or continuously querying and updating the database when the scanned transaction takes place. So in the sense where he's the person dependent on the person or under a company who always queries something, he takes the data and updates when the transaction takes place. The next person is sophisticated end user. Either he may be a scientist or a business analyst or other person who will be familiar with the database. And here the database is been designed for his requirement, not for others' requirements. That is what a database a sophisticated end user does. The next person is standalone end user, the single person who maintains database, the main personal database by used for its own use for different things like the taxpayer or the different person who is going to register the things. That is about an end user. The next person is system analyst and application programmer. So who is a system analyst? And the person who determines the requirement of an end user, and especially he is known as a native or a parametric end user to develop and specify the scan transaction which meets the requirements. He is a person who checks, who writes the query for the to me writes the query to meet the requirements of the person. So this system analyst is the main person who analyzes the things what happens in a database administration. The next is application programmer. He implements the data what it is been given from a system analyst. Means he's going to code the database or he implements this program part or what problem has been given or what query has been done. It has been introduced into a program and it has been then given by testing, debugging and maintenance things whatever the scan copy is done. Such analyst or a programmer is called as software developer or a system engineer. Who is a software developer now? Who uh, does a program for a things. This is about your some of the different users of your program. Hence, here we're going to end up this chapter. Hope you understood all the things whatever whatever the things we have spoke in this tutorial. So you understood, hope you understood anything. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. Thank you.